Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for everybody for joining. Hello, Lynda. How are you?
Hello, Kathy. I'm doing really well. How about you?
I'm actually doing really good. Yeah, really good. It's been a good week. My kid is going back to school for the first time in 2.5 years in a week. I know it's
Oh my,
crazy. So, as a mom, I'm a little nervous about that. Of course, he's 16, so I shouldn't be too worried. But you know what? I feel like there's an energy change that's going on right now. We've got, I think everybody's kind of, in this, I think it's a good place. I think it's a good place. It's a good place for change. It's a good place for, personal change, political change, just everything sort of change. Personal for sure, because we've got, we're going out of the year of the ox. We're heading into the water tagger. I mean, and that's all about heart energy. I know this is a paranormal show, but I'm just excited about it because I'm looking forward to this shift in the energy. I think we've all been so stagnant for so long, and it feels like we're finally getting this opportunity to not be as closed as we have been.
yes, I agree with you. And I think what we really do need is the change. I mean, you're right. Everything's been so stagnant. We need some
Mhm.
change. We need something to take us out of this slump because everybody's been in such a slump. I don't know. I've been in a slump.
Absolutely, right? And it is. And I feel like it's an energetic change. I mean, we've got the new moon coming in February too, going into Aquarius. I know. I just feel like things are about to get better. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
Um let's bring on our guest. Would you like to introduce him? Because I know he's a good friend of yours, and I'm really looking forward to having that opportunity to speak with him too.
Yes, let me introduce him. His name is Robyn Clark. I've known him for a number of years now. Robyn is a paranormal consultant, but he's also a practicing witch. And there's so many misconceptions out there about what a witch is, what a witch
Mhm.
does, what a witch looks like. Well, Robyn is the real deal, and he's a heck of a great guy. So tonight,
Let's bring
I'm
him
I'm
on.
looking forward to talking about all things witchy, wild, and wonderful, and of course, some paranormal stuff thrown into.
Absolutely. Hello, Robyn. Welcome to the show. It's so
Hello.
good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for agreeing to come on to this show. So I know Linda's been really looking forward to having you on for the last couple of weeks now. So
Yeah, I've been quite
Yes, I
excited.
am. You know something? I know it can be a little nerve-wracking because we do this live, of course, not to make you even more nervous, but but it can be a bit nerve-wracking. But if you just pretend that we're all in the same living room, even the people out there, everything's fine. It's just fine. But Robyn, so you are a witch,
Yes.
and I want to know more about that. I want to know how long you've been a witch.
So I've been studying witchcraft for 20 plus years now. I started when I was really young, so about 11 years old. Um, like other religions, people say they have a calling or they have a feeling and they're drawn to something. That was sort of my shift in my belief system. So I've always been nature based growing up. Like I've always had that sort of vibe to myself. And then I sort of just shifted completely into this, and then I've never looked back. So it's just been an ongoing journey. Studying witchcraft, like my focus and my type of witchcraft that I practice is British traditional witchcraft. So it's a little, there's a big difference between that and some of the more mainstream practices that are out there today.
Right, right. I know that like a lot of people want to be a witch these days. I mean, when you say, right, when you say, oh, I know a witch, or I do witchcraft, I practice witchcraft, there's so many people out there who go, oh yeah, well, I really want to be a witch. I mean, have you come across that? And how do you feel about that? And what sorts of things can you tell maybe even the people that are watching right now, how to even start?
My biggest suggestion is to really research and learn stuff. To be a witch is a lot of dedication and a lot of practice and a lot of research and a lot of like putting yourself right in and getting it right into the different subjects that you want to be a part of. Witchcraft is exactly that. It's a craft. It's not a religion. So if you're looking at being a part and wanting to be a witch, studying witchcraft, then there's different avenues, I guess you could call it, within that spectrum that you could actually branch into. So not every witch or witchcraft or person that practices witchcraft actually follows the same stuff. Now, if you're looking at something like they want to join a religion, and some people, part of these mainstream religions do call themselves witches. So like there's also Wicca, which I have nothing against Wicca at all. So I just want to put that out there right now. And yes, some of them consider themselves witches because they also do practice witchcraft as a part of their practices. But again, two different things, witchcraft and then Wicca. Wicca being the religion, witchcraft being the practice or the actual craft of what they're doing. Right. So if someone was to say to me, like, I want to be a part of this and I want to join, find somebody that can mentor you is a good way to start. Reach out to people, join communities. My biggest fear is getting bad information, and then bad information that, and a lot of young people get it, and I deal with a lot of young people, especially have a lot of questions from a lot of young people, and they get told certain things about witchcraft, and it's satanic, and it branches as part of the Church of Satan. It doesn't. We have nothing to do with the Church of Satan. Are there satanic witches that practice their craft of witchcraft? Yeah, sure. Can they call themselves witches? I guess they could. They're not the same type of witch that I am, but it's actually a more complex subject matter than I think a lot of people realize, and it's a lot more complex than a lot of the other religions I find. Like when you actually break it down into like sort of how they all sit together.
Right. And you hear so many things, especially, okay, so being a psychic medium, for myself, you always hear people say, oh, you must be a witch, or, you get this energy, or people, do you do curses? Do you do this? Do you do, or do you believe in curses? And I mean, we're all going to have our own different spectrum or thought process on that. So do you find that, when somebody hears that you're a witch, do you get that label stuck on you right away?
Yeah, usually the first thing that comes out of their mouth, if it's someone that's sort of searched me out a little bit, is I've had a problem with so-and-so. Can you curse them or do something to get back at them? And I usually say to them, by you just saying stuff negatively putting it out there, that's a curse enough. I said, what do you want me to do that you couldn't do on your own? Ultimately, do I believe in curses? Yes, I do. Can I do them? Sure. Do I like to do them? No. Right. Or do I do them? Not. I can't say I've never done one. I just don't like to do them. I think they're like a last resort.
Right.
I don't believe in, like, I'm non-violent, so I don't believe in like hurting anybody as my own personal belief system behind it, but I will protect my family if I have to.
Right.
And if that's my way of protecting them, then I'll do it by shielding them. Or, I don't like the idea of or putting harm out there in the universe. Like, I think there's enough crazy going on out there. People are going to do it. People are going to do it themselves, and I don't need to help them along with it.
Exactly.
So I do get it a lot, but I sort of try to educate them at the same time about what they're asking. And I think that's the big part of my belief system, is to educate people and to sort of break the stereotypes a little bit. Let them see that, like every religion, there is good and bad, but it's not the religion itself. It's the person. So
Right.
if I was a bad person, then sure, yes, I could do bad if I wanted to, but I'm not. So, and I don't believe in doing that. Are there people out there that do it? Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are. I can't say there isn't, but my circle of people that I travel through, I've never come across one that's ever actually openly admitted it to me. So
Yeah.
Can I ask, when did you start practicing?
I was 11.
Okay. Okay. And what drew you into it?
So I had a little bit of like, I want to say like a little bit of a psychic thing happened to me when I was 11. So I've always been an empath, but I've never really, like, growing up, I used to get things, and I also sometimes I can hear and smell things.
Right.
So that was me growing up as a kid. Never really knew what it was. Kind of thought I was the crazy guy in around. So I sort of like, and my parents never discouraged it. Like, my mom has always been a carefree spirit. She's also practices, but never around me when I was a kid. So I never actually learned anything from her specifically. So I remember, like, I was having an emotional break. I was attacked by a group of people when I was a kid, and I remember running home, and I'm running through a field, and I remember seeing a mouse dead on the ground, and I remember leaning over and putting my hands over top of it and saying that it's going to come back to life, and then next thing you know, the thing popped alive. Now, did I do that? I just know that I could feel my energy going into that mouse, and it popped alive. And then I realized that I'm connected in some bigger way to the energies that are around me, and that I'm able to use them and to help and to do whatever. Now, can I bring back the dead or the sick or the dying? No.
Right.
Was that a one-off thing? I don't even know what happened. I was in an emotional state, and this mouse that was dead or looked dead to me popped up and took off.
Yeah.
Like, so from that point on, it's sort of like my research mode went in, and then I started, like, educating myself, researching, seeing who I was very much alike. I started learning about my own genealogy and sort of where my ancestry came from, and sort of tried to piece together what would be more closely connected to as, like, a spiritual being.
Right.
And so my family has roots in Scandinavian roots and British roots. So pretty much all the British Isles, like,
Yeah.
I'm like a Heinz 57 of over there, and then Scandinavian. So like, so my practices, even though I studied traditional British witchcraft, I also bring into my own practice, the religious part. Now, as for the witchcraft part, it's very much traditional British witchcraft. And I also am very connected to North American folk magic, which I really like.
Right.
I love that. I think it's really neat that you were so young when you had this almost an epiphany about, that there's so much more to this universe, because, I think that's really neat that it brought you into that sort of interconnectedness with nature. And a lot of people never have that, or they have it when they're a heck of a lot older. So to have it when you're so young is pretty incredible. And before we went on air here, we were talking about, there's really no right or wrong way to do things. What do you mean by that when it comes to practicing witchcraft?
So witchcraft is a very personal way of like, expressing yourself as a witch. There is really no right or wrong way. And what I mean by that is, like, the way you practice it makes it strengthened by you and by what you do. So if someone was to say to you, oh, that's not right, and you're not following this and that, that's their belief system. That doesn't have to be yours. Like, I've had major debates with people, like, from other philosophical backgrounds and religious backgrounds within the witch community. And yes, there are specific, like, groups that, like, for instance, Wicca, and their way of practicing witchcraft is different than my own. Is theirs wrong and mine's right? No. Mine's right for me, and theirs is right for them. And I think that when we start realizing that as, like, a community, then we can actually grow together as a community, instead of like attacking at each other and separating each other, because it happens a lot within our community.
There's Mr. Peter saying hi.
Hello.
He couldn't be with us tonight because they actually are sick. His whole family is sick. And I believe it's his son's birthday tonight. So hello, Peter. Good to see you.
It's too bad he couldn't be with us. I think he would have fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's true what you're saying, though. I think I get it. You know, everything is personal. Everything, I mean, there really is no right and wrong. And what you were saying about that whole, you know, kind of backlash, I guess, in the witch community. I mean, Kathy and I go through that in the paranormal community too, where, you know, somebody will say, but that's the wrong way to do it. But there's really no wrong way to do it.
No.
It's just whatever speaks to you. Right, Kathy? Right?
Absolutely. 100%. You know, and it's interesting too, because I do a lot of law of attraction practice.
Yep.
Or follow. And, you know, if you really want to think about it, I mean, law of attraction, you know, could be considered witchcraft, or it could be considered religious, or it could be like, there's so many fields that it could actually, you know, go into, but you have to, again, go with what works for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Like my background is more pagan based background, and that's just the way I've always approached things.
Yeah.
I have met, and it was actually caught me off guard when I first met them. I met someone who claimed to be Christian, but also a witch at the same time, which it made sense after they explained it to me. And I was like, okay, I can understand this then. I understand where you're coming from. May not be the same place I'm coming from with it, but you know, and the way they believed in doing stuff. They also they sort of folk magic, so they weren't actually mainstream. They would be called a witch, but they don't actually call themselves a witch. It's a little bit different, but
Right.
what they do practice is a form of witchcraft. So, but they are very much a part of the Christian faith.
Strange, right?
It is. It's really interesting, like the varieties that are out there. And then again, there's different groups that believe in different things. Even the Church of Satan, as much as I don't follow them, they have their own set of rituals and religious practices and crafts that they do that are part of their group, and that's just seems to be. But can they consider themselves a witch? I guess they could technically.
There's it's interesting because, you know, here in my city, there is quite a large pagan or witch community here. Now, I'm not a part of it, you know. I know people that are in it, and it's interesting because there's a lot of weird inner fighting, and I think it has a lot to do with what you had spoken about, not doing it right, or somebody not doing it the way that everybody else should do it, or whatever it is. And it's, you know, so I guess, you know, for me being here, we haven't had the best exposure, I suppose, in my city, if that makes any sense, right? Yeah. And you know, you just kind of think, well, you know, if you're supposed to be like, you know, because a lot of them are talking about, you know, being connected with the earth, connected with, you know, universe, spirit, all of this, you know, and then all this inner fighting, and you're just like, okay, but you're not making any sense. Like, you know, shouldn't there be more community, you know, positive community? Do you find that in your community, or maybe not in your particular, but have you heard about that? Like, do you know why, or can you address that in any way?
I have seen it, and it does happen in all the communities all over. You get a bad egg, or someone who's very they believe something extremely strongly that there's no way of changing their mind about it. Right. So it's almost kind of radicalized in some senses about what they believe. And so then if you don't follow that same belief system or radicalization, it sort of puts you become one of the fringe elements. Like you're like sort of like, he doesn't actually follow it. He doesn't really do it properly.
Right.
Just like a craft is personal to the person who's making the object, witchcraft is personal to the person. So who's to say if I paint a picture that the way I painted it was wrong, because that picture was painted by me the way I know how to paint it. Same with witchcraft. The way I can project what I do is going to be different than Lynda, who say she picks up, you know, the same thing and she does her own spin on it. Will she have the same results? Probably. In the end, is it witchcraft? Yes, it's still witchcraft. Now, then again, that's the craft part. Now, if Lynda has a spiritual background that she uses for her stuff, then again, she would incorporate that into her witchcraft, which then turns the witchcraft into a part of a religious background.
Right, right. Now, Robyn, what about in your practice? What about things like divination and things like that? Because, not every witch does tarot. Not every witch does, bone throwing or whatever. So what personally speaks to you in terms of a divination practice?
So I'm drawn to cards. I really like cards, but I'm more drawn to, so I do like tarot, and I'm not going to say anything bad about tarot because I think they're great tools if you connect to them. And I do to a certain extent, but I prefer, they're called Lenormand. So it's a different form of divination. And I like them because I find them more blunt when I read with them, and I can read with a Lenormand deck and I have no problems. And so I connect to them on a different level as, say, someone who maybe on the same level as someone who reads tarot really well. I read Lenormand as best as I can, and I've never had any problems as of yet, but I really connect to them. I've tried many different mediums, and a lot of them weren't for me, like scrying. Sure. I mean, I have a giant crystal ball in my witch room. Sorry, I call it a witch room. It's where I bring people in and do readings for them in my own home. It's also where I have my altar. It's my sacred space. So, and I have a crystal ball. I have all these tools. Most of them I don't use that often because they're more like they're decoration for me, because they're not what I connect with. I connect with my card. I connect with, I look for signs and things, and I can read stuff like that. Sometimes I also, like I said, I can smell, sometimes get smells, and I can hear things sometimes. So those are what I use to connect with. Now, if I'm doing a reading and I'm trying to like get a feel for like a past one or a loved one or whatever, I will use my cards as more of a guideline or a tool to help sort of pull them in, not as I'm trying to think of the word and it's not coming to my head right now, but
not as direct information. But I don't know if this resonates with you, but I know when I use tarot or Lenormand or oracle or whatever, it's more of a focus. It's not so much like I can read tarot very, very well, but for me, it's more like a focus. Like it helps me to focus to hear everything else that's going on or what I need to focus in on for that particular person.
Yes, that's exactly what I use them for. Now, if I was to read just the Lenormand spread for you and do that, then that would be totally Lenormand. Now, if I was like picking up on, say I was invited to a home and someone was asking me something paranormal was going on in their home and they wanted to know if it's somebody, a loved one, I may use the cards as a tool to help me focus and sort of try to pinpoint who I'm speaking with or what it is that they're like as a being. And then go from there. Like I may not pick up it may not be the person that they're thinking it is, but I can say to them like, listen, like this person was very financially like direct, and they were all about money and whatever, and they might go, oh my god, yes, and then I'd be like, okay, don't tell me anymore, but let me just finish like what I'm seeing, and then and go on, and like that's how I like to do it. But it's not
it sounds very similar to my form of reading as well. It's like, don't tell me the information, just let the information come and see if it resonates with you. Like, let's do it this way, right?
I mean, I find it also like I have to learn, like even being like empathically, like I had to learn to block out a lot of stuff. And sometimes the person I'm reading for, their energy is so strong, I sort of have to like shield myself from them because it's affecting my reading. And I'm just like, okay, you need to stop projecting, because they're so emotional and they get so emotionally invested in what you're doing that my body absorbs that and it affects me. So I've had to learn a lot over the years. Like it's taken me a lot, and I find readings, so I'm not sure if you find them this way. After a reading, I kind of am really drained. Like it's sort of like, okay, I need a breather.
I used to get very, very drained doing readings. But then I found more with the medium readings than, just a regular, or if somebody's like, really emotionally distraught. It's more okay, just listen to what I have to say. I find that, trying to convince them, like, listen instead of focusing in on your distress or whatever, like listen to the information. Because I work more with guides, angels, that realm.
Yeah.
And so the information that's coming through is very direct for them. So they might be like, blah. And I'm like, okay, but you got to listen, because this information is coming to you for a reason. It's not just junk that I'm creating in my head. It's being direct, like a lot of channeling. I do a lot of channeling.
Yeah.
So when I'm channeling, it's like, you got to listen, just listen to what is being said, more so than focusing in on the immediate distress of what you're going through or whatever it is. Just listen to the messages that are coming through.
Yeah, I totally agree. I
Mhm.
would say that I started doing that part of my readings within the last 5 years ish. I was sort of more intimidated by that aspect of readings, like where like I'll smell something, I'll be like, some
Mhm.
perfume. I get a perfume, I smell a perfume in the room, and I'll be like, okay, I'm not wearing any perfume. And
Yeah.
usually, like if my clients are coming, I usually tell them not to wear anything because I also am very sensitive. So I'll be like, if I'm doing a reading and I'm there, please don't wear any perfumes or colognes or anything.
Yeah.
Like, just because I don't want to, because I know that I can pick up on smells, that I don't want to be picking up on what they're wearing. So I've had like, yeah, perfumes and things like, and I've had the one that follows me around a lot, and I found out from another medium that it's one of my relatives, is a heavy cigarette smell.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
smell tobacco, and I'll smell it at the weirdest times. I'll be in bed, I'll be like, why does it smell like someone's smoking in the room like right beside me?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm a non-smoker, so I'm sitting there looking around
So you're
going,
going to be sensitive to it already.
where is the smell coming from?
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then I end up finding out who it was, because I could smell it, I just didn't know who it was, and I kept on saying, okay, whoever it is, you need to give me sort of a sign of who you are.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, and I never ever got that. All I got was the smell, and finally figured out who it was, which was kind of a nice feeling once you finally know why I'm smelling this. And but I would say to my wife, I'd be like, do you smell the cigarettes in this room? And she'd look at me and she'd be like, you're insane, because I don't smell anything.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, I'm pretty sure I was almost put in a loony bin a few times, just because like I would say stuff to her and she'd look at me like I had 14 heads. And
It's actually funny because I prefer to do readings remote, very like, or through, as let's say we were doing the show. I'm not putting them on the air, obviously, but like remote through video or through phone, simply for that same reason. I find that when they're with me or in person, the energy is almost too much, like, because they're right there, and and if, I find that when, sometimes I won't even be looking at them, because that way I'm actually able to just channel the information, and there's no distraction around me. I can just it's just a channeling method. And so it's similar, like, I find that if they're there with me, it can almost be a little bit too much energy.
yeah, yeah, I find that, like, for me, because I'm very new at it, I have to feed off of their energy a little bit so I can pick up stuff. Um, I guess as you get more experienced doing readings and like sort of channeling that type of messages, then I guess, yeah, doing it remotely would work. I I've tried remotely once, and I'm not gonna say I wasn't successful. I found it a lot more difficult for me, but I'm
Right.
also very, very new at um, that whole sort of field, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
it
But as
definitely,
you go, you're going to find what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what makes you comfortable, what isn't comfortable. I've had to say to clients, like, similar to what you had said, like, you got to open your energy, because, I can feel you're blocked off and I'm not getting anything. Like, you either have to, I'll sometimes give them the deck of cards just to shuffle, just to, like, so that they start
Yeah,
loosening up, you know, and it's just a matter of, you know, if I do a reading in person, it's like, here, do this. And then while they're shuffling, they're not paying attention to what I'm doing, and I can tap into them a lot better.
that's a great idea. Yes, and I've
Mm.
done the same thing for people. I like to distract a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, or like sometimes like I have pets galore in my house. It's like a little zoo. So sometimes my like a cat will come in and I'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, thank God, the cat will distract them, you know, enough that I can sort of pick up on stuff maybe. And, you know, it takes me a bit sometimes. I'm definitely working on it a little bit more. A friend of mine asked me to try to do like with jewelry and trying to read from
Hmm.
jewelry and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, that is actually a really cool tool to try to like pick up on things, especially if they don't tell
Yeah.
you, as long as they don't tell you about the jewelry or piece that they gave
Yeah.
you,
Right.
but just start spitting things that come to your mind as you're
Hmm.
holding this in your hand. And so that's what I do as like practice sort of thing. So it definitely is a work in progress though. I mean, my main focus when I have my clients is my cards that I'll read, as opposed to doing the channeling and stuff. Like that's very, very new, and I only
Right.
do that for like people I've read for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you pick up on things, because I do remember a story that you had told, and you do consultancy for paranormal groups like mine. Um, you were looking for a house, and you said that you knew instantaneously when you went into a home whether or not there was residual energy there, or because you told me this really weird story.
Yeah, I can tell it if you want.
I like
So
that. That'd be good.
so I went into a home. We were in the process. We sold our home. We were in the process of looking for a house. This was in Western Ontario when we went. So heading towards Owen Sound area. And the house that we went to was this gorgeous century home. I've always wanted a century home. I've always been drawn to them. Um, Not the home that we live in now is not a century home, but that's a long story. But anyway, so we went into this house, absolutely stunning. The back of the house had a servant's quarters up in there, and you walk in, and they still had the old pantries, floor to ceiling pantry, like cupboards for linens and things in the servant's court. It was really cool house. And
Wow.
this family had renoed this house, and it was stunning inside. And where the servants' quarters was actually an art studio, which it was. I was in love with it because I also do art on the side. So, and I thought, well, that'd be great. I could also use that as my personal space, my own witch room. So then, therefore, I could use it. And it also had a private entrance and exit. So if I brought clients in, they weren't going through my home and bringing their energy through my home. They were just bringing it there, and I could contain it.
Right.
So I'm up there. It was a crazy busy energy in that room. So I thought, oh, there's a bit of residual that you could feel. Definitely the artistic. I could feel the artistic from the family that lived there now, but I could also feel the residual from the people that were there beforehand. So the people that would have worked in the home. So it was kind of cool, that part. Then we went around. So that was like kind of like almost like Gone with the Wind staircase as you walked in the house. And at the top of the staircase, it went sort of two different directions. And the one direction was the master bedroom and a kind of like a sitting room sort of thing. And as I got to the top of the stairs in front of the master bedroom, something kept on telling me to throw myself over the railing.
Oh.
And I was like, and I'm like thinking, I thought I was going crazy. And so, and then the depression and it was a weird feeling came over me. And it was just like almost like a very sorrowful, like upset, trauma type feeling came over me. And like, I can only relate it to is what I was getting told was about this more suicide. Like if someone was going to commit suicide,
Mhm.
that sort of feeling in that house. And I was like, nope, I'm out of here. Peace. Like, and I had to leave. I had to take myself out of the house because the more I was staying in there, the more I kept on feeling
Right.
like that I needed to go towards the banister and throw myself. And I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I could hear something speaking in my ear. And I'm like, no, we got to get out of here. This is not a safe house.
Yeah.
So I grabbed my family, like my kids were with me. They're all thinking I'm nuts. And I get out to the car and I'm like, my wife's like, you're white. And I said, that house is a sick house. I said, we're not buying that house because we loved the house when we first got there. And I'm like, as soon as I went to the master bedroom, it was a no. Mm-mm. The basement was even creepier because you go down in the basement, it was sort of looked like the old fashioned wine cellars, like kind of had like
Right.
arched brickwork that kind of went around, and it sort of went all. It was pretty big.
Yeah.
Um,
It sounds beautiful.
Oh my God, it was a stunning home, and I wish that I didn't get that feeling when I went in there, because I probably would have been living in Western Ontario instead of Eastern Ontario.
Right.
But it was definitely a very strange feeling. Like, you go down there and it just felt off. The basement felt off, like not welcoming, not like you wanted to be down there. My instinct was to leave and not stay in the basement.
Wow.
So, and my wife was like, "Oh no, we're going to go down there. We're going to go check it." I'm like, "No, we're not. We're definitely not." I said, I will stand upstairs if you guys go ahead. But I said, if something eats you down there, you're on your own. Like, I'm not coming down for you. Like, consider this a warning. I've already told you I'm not going in the basement. And if I'm not going down there, it's probably a good idea not to go down
I'm not
there.
coming to save you.
I'm sorry, honey, you're on your own. Like, at this point, I'll send you with my good wishes and blessings, and that's all you're getting. I mean,
so it wasn't a fixable house, in other words. Yeah, so you couldn't fix that house, in other words. Do you believe that? Do you believe that there are some environments and some homes out there that no matter how hard you try, that they're just not fixable?
They're not fixable. So there are definitely some places that are not fixable, no matter what you do. I also am a firm believer that the person's, like, the connection, whether religious or ethnic or whatever, to that home also influences the type of things you can use to get whatever that energy is out of that home. So, for instance, I've been brought in to clear homes before, and I've been successful at doing them, but I've also done my research on the people and the things in that home. So if the family was a very religious family, I may not bring in witch stuff to get them out. I may use my own craft to help me with it, but I would use different things that were part of their culture to pull them out of it.
Yeah.
So
I totally get that. Yeah.
I definitely
that
think
was not a fixable house, right?
And that one was not a fix.
Did you ever find the history of it? Like, did you ever feel like discover anything about it?
I didn't end up going back. I should have, because I ended up having like disagreements with the real estate agent that we had. So I didn't end up keeping the paperwork for it, which I should have, because I would have loved to sort of figure out what was going on. I vaguely remember where it is.
Right.
So maybe one day I'll get enough oomph in me and to go back and have a look. But at that point in time, I was like, this house is not good. Now, that being said, if someone moves in and they're not sensitive to that, can they put their own energy into the home and make it a home? I'm sure they could. I'm just very sensitive to that. So, and it was affecting me. So I was like, we're out. Like, there's no way I'm living here, and there's no way I'm staying in this house.
Yeah.
As much as I loved I loved that house, but no.
I feel that too, is that, it really depends on, if somebody just moves in and they're not as sensitive, or maybe perhaps, maybe they're super busy in their own lives that they wouldn't even notice something like that, or whatever, or whatever it is that they have, maybe they're about as psychic as a doornail. Like, who knows, right? Like, they may not pick up on that energy, and the house feels great to them. They move in, they buy it, whatever. But also too, is like sometimes a lot of people ignore their, psychic or not, they ignore their own intuition, and they might just be in that place of, I like the structure, I like the foundation, I like the aesthetics of it. Boom, we're just going to do it, and they ignore that inner feeling.
And that's a big thing. Like, when I have friends that go buy places, I always say to them, like, read your gut first when you walk on the property. Yeah. Then read it again when you're in the house. The property will be read differently than the house. And it should, because they're two different areas. The house is a contained unit, a box. And a box without a lid. Like, it's completely sealed. So what you're feeling outside is never going to be what you're going to feel inside. Now, there could be stuff outside you'll pick up on. That could be negative, could be positive, who knows? But the inside, that's where I sort of seem to, like, I'll even tell my own clients, like really pay attention to the things that you're feeling as you're walking through. Do the hairs on the back of your neck stand up? Why is that? That's your body's natural response to certain energy shifts. So pay attention to it. It's important. Do you walk in? Does parts of the house always feel cold to you when you walk in there? Okay, well, there could be multiple reasons for it, but take note of it. You know,
Absolutely.
like trust your gut. Like I had a mentor once that used to tell me all the time, like, and we talked about psychic stuff, and they used to say to me, everybody has the ability to have psychic gifts. We
Mhm.
are all naturally energy based people. We are taught to forget them growing
Yeah.
up as children. We are taught to disconnect,
Yeah.
but there's no reason why we can't reconnect. And so by teaching each other and talking about it with each
Mhm.
other and learning to reconnect, getting a mentor who maybe has been psychic their entire life and
Mhm.
uses their ability all the time, they can help unblock a person. They can help guide you to reconnecting. It will take you a lot longer, yes, but the idea is we have the ability to feel the energy. You can put your hand over a flame and you can feel the heat. Well, that's your feeling energy. You can rub
Yeah.
your hands together and you can put your palms out in front of you. You're feeling energy. You can put your hand in flowing water. You're feeling energy. Like it's all around you. You can feel the warmth off of off the ground. If you put your hand just over the ground, you're feeling the earth's energy. It's there. Magnetic energy is another energy. You can feel it. So we have the ability to feel these things. It's just learning how to use them and tap into them.
Mhm. 100%. Do you find that your children are empathic, or um are they interested in the witchcraft as well?
Um, my boys, uh, so I have my eldest is my son. He's not so much. He's sort of dances to his own drum in his own little world.
Right.
My daughter is much more empathic, and she's very much like me. She's artistic. She's more she'll come down and like I've taught her stuff, and I'll teach her some things. Like I'm a firm believer in they've got to find their path
Right.
that works for them. So, and I always tell my kids, if you want to go to church and or to a mosque or to a Hindu temple
Mhm.
or to whatever, that's fine. I just ask you one question: if that religion ever asks you to harm, to judge another based on their belief system, I want you to walk away.
Absolutely.
I said,
100%.
and I said, I want you to treat everybody with the same respect. I said, because I don't want you walking into my house in 10 years and going, Dad, you're going to hell.
Right. 100%.
Or
100%.
Dad, why do you believe in that? It's not real or that's not true.
Yeah.
No, that's not how I raised you. I raised you to know that yes, everyone can believe something different. And
Mhm.
yes, it can be as beautiful as the person themselves. It's how they interpret something and push that. And so my kids they float around. Like my daughter's never like she comes down and she will go through my books and she's picked up tarot. My daughter seems to really like tarot, which is cool because like I said, I love tarot, but they're not my connection. So
Right.
she's teaching me little bits about tarot, and as I'm teaching her little bits about it, what I know, I'll teach her, and what she knows, she sort of teaches me, which
Yeah.
is kind of neat. But she's more the one that's into it. My youngest, he's 10, so he's more into gaming and
Mhm.
online world, so he doesn't really care. His image of magic is what he sees on TV right now. He knows
Mhm.
what I do, but he doesn't sort of connect the dots yet.
Right. Right.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping he will, and like as more that the more that I'm more open about it in the house and sort of shift. Like I have most of my pagan and witch stuff is in my witch room, and now I've started shifting it into the house a little bit, so my crystals and things are sort of flowing into the house a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, and so he's starting to pick up on things and go, "Oh, Dad, when are we going to the Rock and Mineral Show so we can get some more crystals for in the
Aw.
house?" Or,
Yeah.
Dad, like I really like those tarot that you have downstairs, and and do you think I can have them one day? Sure, why not? Like I
Yeah.
have tons. Sure.
It's interesting because the more that you're open with kids too, and just, you treat things as though they're just a natural part of life, I guess, the more that they're accepting, the more that they're open, the more that they're less judgmental. And, I'm finding, there's so many people that are more people are opening up now, but there is still a large place of people that are a little bit more closed, or, you know, judgmental, or just they don't want to learn about it. They, you know, they have their prejudice against, you know, certain things. And, you know, it's one of the reasons why I love doing this show, is because we get to meet so many amazing people like you, and hearing this and being able to share it. And it just, you know, it allows people to hear different sides. I mean, you know, even if it's like a paranormal investigator, everyone's going to have their methods, their thoughts, their ways, and there's no wrong about it, you know?
It's true. And like even when I do my investigations or help out, I'm not big on technology. Like in terms of that,
Right.
I find sometimes that takes away from my intuitiveness and being able to feel things, because I'm focused on what's going on the machine in front of me, and I forget to pay attention to what my gut or I'm sensing. So I mean, I do like spirit boxes and things like that. Like, don't get me wrong, and EVPs and all, and you know, all that stuff. I do find them very useful tools.
Right.
I just find them, for me, sometimes distracting. So sometimes what I'll use is, like, I have dowsing rods. I use sometimes. I've used pendulums. I'll even bring my cards, and I'll sort of in an area, and I'll just sort of pull a card, and then I'll sort of, you know, see what my, like, use it as like a tool, sort of the channel that what I'm feeling in that area, and
Yeah.
sort of go by that. And then, like I said, the other thing is I'm big on research. Like, I
Okay.
think you should always have your ducks in a row before you walk into somewhere. You're not going to walk into, you know, a war zone, so to speak, without knowing what you're getting into before you do it. Like, you kind of want to know what you're going up against, or what might be there, and sort of go, yeah, you know what, that's not a safe zone. I need to really protect myself before I walk into that.
Right.
So,
That's so true.
and which
That's
is something I do. Like, I like to do a warding on myself so that I'm protected from things attaching themselves to me. And then I'll also do a cleansing on myself after and before, like, I get in there. I don't like to bring energy that's like from home into something and then that home with me. So I kind of like to pull things apart, and then, yeah, and see how it goes. I mean, um, as for spirits, like, I've come across a couple that have not been so great, but you just, like I said, the research helps to know what you're dealing, possibly what you're doing. I'm not going to say it's
Right.
always going to be 100% accurate. You know, Joe the farmer could have died in that building, but it may not be Joe the farmer that's there,
Right.
and that might be the only information that I have about Joe the farmer being the one that was there. You know, like,
Yeah.
so you definitely have to rely on some other tools to help. And so when like Lynda was saying, when I consult, I go in and do my thing with another group, and they use their tools and I use mine, and then I just share my information. And that's, I think, the best method. You utilize all your tools. I'm a tool, so use me. Like, it is what it
Yeah.
is. And
yes. Yes.
you know,
You are a tool, but you're not a tool. Just saying.
yeah. So,
Robyn, I have a question though. And this is a question that I was asked to ask you.
oh,
As a witch, witches tend to have a lot of ritual, and sort of, you know, things that they do at specific times of the year. Do you incorporate rituals into your practice? And if so, wait, let me look at my piece of paper. If so, what is your favorite time of the year and your favorite ritual to do?
oh, okay. So I have a lot of favorite times of the year, but my ultimate favorite, and yes, I do use ritual. My favorite time of the year is Halloween. So we call it Samhain. So I do ritual during that time. And if I was to put it into perspective so people could, like, layman's terms, it's sort of like New Year's mixed with Remembrance Day jammed into one for the pagan community. Now, that's the way I look at it. Like, if I was to break it down, like, and simplify it.
Right.
I will do an altar that will have, for instance, relatives that have passed on it. I will decorate it with some flowers and some things that are seasonal for that time. There are some people who kind of make it kind of Halloween-y on their altar, which is, like I said, it's personal to them if that's the way they want to do it. So, and I do that. I also will do at dinner time. So we will set an extra place at the table for
Okay.
for spirits that pass through, or we'll leave a plate outside our door.
Right.
I know people in our neighborhood have seen that happen. Like they'll see a plate of food sitting out the door on Halloween. So they're kind of like, what the heck is this guy doing? Um, without having to explain it to them, they just sort of look at it going like, are you feeding like animals or something? Like, but, and I'll leave it out there all night and I'll pick it up in the morning and yeah, and whatnot. As well as traditionally like jack-o'-lanterns, like carving a jack-o'-lantern. My family will do that together as a thing. The history of jack-o'-lanterns is actually as old as it can get. Traditionally, they were not pumpkins; they were turnips that they used to use, or rutabaga. They
Right.
had carved faces in to ward off evil, and they put them outside their home, so bad spirits wouldn't go near their home. We use pumpkins, so because turnips are really hard to carve and it sucks to try to carve them, so we use pumpkins, and they're a lot more fun and colorful and prettier, and they do the exact same thing. So you put scary faces on them. But a lot of people don't realize where that came from. Then that's an old world thing. The pumpkin is actually a North American folk thing because pumpkins were given to us by Indigenous people, as far as I'm aware of. Because in the old world, in England and in Europe, they didn't have pumpkins, so they used turnips and stuff like like rutabagas and things that they would carve.
Right.
So that's the one I use. And I also celebrate Yule. So at Christmas time, so my kids have learned to celebrate Yule, and that's a tradition every year. We do it together. I will set an altar. Because I don't have a working fireplace in my house, I make a Yule log, and I put candles in it, and it sits on our table. It's sort of like a centerpiece, and it gets lit by my kids. So I have 3 candles in there, and they each light one as part of the celebration. And we exchange like a gift. The idea of greenery within the home, the boughs and stuff in Christmas trees, that's actually an old world pagan tradition. So you brought in the nature spirits in during that time of year, the cold months, because you are showing them respect.
Okay.
So, and traditionally on your tree would be garlands of like dried nuts, fruits, and things like that, right? So those things would be to nourish them throughout that time. And by bringing them out after you were done, they would give you more prosperity to your property and help you along throughout the year. That was the tradition. Like that's originally how it started. So now if you look at Christmas decorations, you see holly and all these crazy things. That's where it all came from. Some of them were like mistletoe, for instance, it was used by Druids.
Yeah.
And as a sacred herb. So, and then it manifested into what it is today, like off of things. So yeah, we do. And in my house, like at Christmas time, don't get me wrong, I do have Santa Claus and stuff and whatever else. Because half of my family celebrates Christmas, and my immediate family celebrates Christmas and Yule. So we have both.
Okay.
Same with, like I said, at Halloween, like my kids go trick-or-treating. They wear costumes, the idea of costumes and that stuff. Yeah, it's mainstream, but we do my own little spin on stuff at home. So, and then of course, those holidays, we also do ritual like things. And sometimes I do them by myself because my kids are sort of not there yet. And sometimes I do them with them. So for Yule, I do them with them. So the whole family is involved in it because it's sort of like a family celebration type thing. And at least I like to make it that way.
Yeah.
As where Samhain is more personal to me. I find it more of a solemn thing. Or I will maybe celebrate Samhain with a group of friends of like-minded community. And we may all be solitary, or maybe they belong to a coven and their coven's not doing something, and they want to get together. So we all bring something into it and we do a ritual together just as a thing. So yeah, I definitely think I personally do use ritual in my long answer.
No, that's a good answer. It's a great answer. Because I think people have it in their minds that this is what witches do. You know, they wear long robes. They may not know why they wear long robes, but they're supposed to
run naked in the moonlight.
Right? Exactly.
And to be honest with you, that is a true thing. That is definitely naked in the moonlight. Some practice in the nude because they believe that clothing inhibits the energy. Some use colored robes for the color of the robe represents either a status or represents the craft that they practice. Do I use robes? Yes. Do I use them? Are they colored specifically for what I practice? No.
Right.
I just would never go nude, and like I have children, and I don't think they need to see that. And plus, I practice. Sometimes I practice with other people, so I like to be comfortable, and I like to be able to. I like to try to bring in a little bit of that tradition, that's
Right.
old world tradition, back into my practices. So it is there is a lot of stuff you do see on TV that is very similar to, like, it's fact based, just exaggerated.
Right. Right. I think that's so true. Now, if there are people out there who maybe have some questions, and because there's some, like I said, misconceptions about witchcraft, what would you say to these people, especially if they have kids who are kind of dabbling? What would you say to watch out for? What would you say to encourage? That kind of thing.
My biggest thing that, and I always tell parents this when especially when they ask me about witchcraft and stuff, read it with them, research it with them. You don't have to believe it or follow it, but see what they're looking at. And if you start noticing a shift in behavior in a negative light, then reach out for help and reach out for someone else that can help guide them. Maybe someone within the community, and ask around. Like, there's community members, like people who practice witchcraft all over the place. And like I said, there are some that are good, some that are bad, but sort of field them out and get a sense for them, and just sort of ask questions. Always ask questions, and always do your research. Witchcraft, like I said, is not normally, like, I would never say witchcraft is bad. It's the person themselves and how they want to use it.
Portray it.
So if a child is melancholy and into some dark stuff, good chances they're gonna do negative stuff.
Yeah.
Because they think it's cool, or whatever the case may be, and sort of just guide them away from it and say, that's not what it's about, but I see the direction you're heading, and it concerns me, and be open with them and have a conversation. But I would never tell them that what they believe is wrong. I would just sort of try to gently guide them away from a negative pursuit of witchcraft.
Right.
It's like telling someone that, the more you tell someone not to do something, the more that they're actually going to try to do it.
Right.
And the allure of being dangerous and mysterious and whatever with witchcraft. I am a dad. I am a regular human being. I do not wear black clothing, like out in public, like in pointed hats, and like, I have a cardigan on and a Beetlejuice t-shirt on me right now. Like I would be the guy you would see in the supermarket. You probably would never know. I mean, yes, okay, I have piercings and tattoos, but like, which doesn't make me a witch. It just, that's who I am, and that's how I express myself.
Yeah.
You don't have to be scary to be a witch. You could be the mom next door, and you'd never know. I've met people who all over the place, all different walks of life, and all different backgrounds, and all different like images. You just got to support them, and sort of guide them, and hopefully they develop into a person that understands what they're really getting into.
Good advice.
I don't think it's not, like I said, it's not dangerous unless you make it dangerous. And if you're dabbling in things you don't know what you're doing, probably good. And if you can honestly say to yourself, I don't really know what I'm doing, you probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's like handing someone a gun and going, do you know how to load it, or is it loaded?
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting because we get asked a lot, can you teach us this, or can you teach me this, or can you teach me to be, I've had a lot of people that would be like, I want to learn how to be a psychic. Well, you don't just snap your fingers. It's a lot of work and a lot of dedication, whether it's witchcraft investigation, whatever it is. I mean, it's a lot of work to become a plumber. It's no different than
Very
to
true.
do what we do, right? And people tend to have this idea that they're just going to learn it and and start, and it's always about you have to be ready to put the dedication, the effort, the common sense practices, which is very important with anything, and just be in that place of trusting your instinct. I mean, it'd be no different than getting mentored by a plumber who thinks the toilet belongs on the ceiling. If somebody's telling you to conjure dark things, that that's wrong. Or, like you said, if somebody's telling you to hurt somebody or, whatever it is, within yourself that that's wrong. And I think that, people have to really look at it and go, this isn't right. This is not the way that we're supposed to be as people, as humans, as individuals, as a collective.
Nope, and you're right. And unfortunately, this is where witchcraft has gotten such a bad rap,
Right.
because you do have the fringe element that does do that. And unfortunately, but I mean, if you look at every religion, there's that still that they all have a fringe element. It's
Absolutely.
just because there's this allure and that we are like satanic that we get the really bad rap, right?
Yeah.
We're not satanic. Like, and I really want to emphasize that witches are not satanic.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get backlash because there's probably some people out there, oh, I'm a witch and yeah, I practice. Okay, you can be a witch and practice the religion of Satanism, but witchcraft itself, the roots of it, are not satanic.
Well, and that's just really like being an investigator who goes in with, like, I don't know, a troll doll on a Ouija board and and like shake some maracas or whatever the hell that, like whatever it is, like, you know what I mean, it or scream, I want to be scratched, I want to be there.
I have a big philosophy when it comes to stuff. Don't, and I am a firm believer, don't poke the bear.
That's exactly it.
When
right?
you walk into an environment that is not your environment, you don't poke the bear because you're going to get bit.
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the same with kids and Ouija boards. Like my kids, my daughter wants to play with Ouija boards so bad, and I've taught her now how to safely use one. Do I agree with them? I do not like them.
Right.
I do not like them because I've had to go in places and clear stuff out.
Clear out the crap that has already been created because of that Ouija board.
Because kids don't understand that they are portals, they are tools, they were created for a purpose and they work for that purpose, and they are very good tools to use, but unfortunately in the wrong hands, like little hands, they don't know what they're doing, and so therefore they pull things in that they don't remember or know how to push back out, and then you're stuck with some serious bad mojo in your home, and then people like me get called in to have to fix it or try to fix it. And not all the time you can fix it, because sometimes what they pull in may be a little bit too strong, or may not, like I may not be able to get a grasp on it. And then what am I going to, I'm sorry for your luck. You might want to move. Like I mean, I apologize, but like, what do you want me to, you need to like educate your kids, like, and go, listen, like, yes, it's marketed as a game. Should it have been marketed as a game? Probably not. It was created as a game. So, and it was marketed as a game
by Mattel.
So, but should it be sold in where kids can readily access it? No, I don't think it should be. I think if that's a new age shop or somewhere that there's knowledgeable people, hopefully behind that counter, that can go, okay, your kids want this. This is the history about the Ouija board. This is what the Ouija board can do. Are you sure you want this in your home? Like,
right.
Well, and it's interesting too, because there's, aside from even Ouija boards, I mean, if you take a look at it, tape recorders, camera, we get a lot of, I guess, novice people that will be like, I'm going to investigate my own home, and they set up camera, and it turns it, like, I'm not saying it turns into an episode of what was that paranormal show, where the guy sets up all the cameras and record, paranormal activity or anything like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people become so invested, and because they don't have that experience behind them, then every creak and crack that they're hearing is going to, oh, that was a ghost. I know that was a ghost. Look at that orb. Look at that big ball of fuzz over there. Look at this. And they're not understanding that they're placing all of this focus onto probably things that are absolutely normal in the first place. But second of all, is that their energy is so heightened that basically what they're doing is they can also draw in things because of that heightened energy.
Exactly.
And you don't know exactly what it is. And, we've had so many people that will on their own just set up, video cameras and this and that and the other thing. And because they don't know how to decipher, they don't have the experience behind them in reviewing a lot of this stuff, it can become a crap show, for the investigator that has to go in and because they're already so heightened up here that they might not listen to the logic or the common sense, or again, if they've just created an entire energy field, that can be difficult, that we have to deal with.
That's why I'm a big, like I said before, I'm big on research, and I'm also big on interviewing people.
Yes.
Talking to the people that live there, getting their perspective, getting their feel, but also doing a walkthrough of the house without cameras, without anything with you, checking for cold spots, checking for water damage, checking for structural issues, paying attention to that. These could be the issues. Once you've recognized where those are and you're doing your investigation, then you can go, oh, this camera was flickering kind of weird over here. Well, that could have been the draft that was coming through that window because that window has a crack in it. But if at nighttime, you don't always see those things because you can't see all those things because, it's dark, right? Even though you have some lights on, a lot of investigators do things in the dark, or they have minimal lighting, right? So you won't be able to see that. So it's good to investigate the property in the daytime, doing a walkthrough, so you see what you're looking at before you do the crazy heavier investigation in the evening. And then so you can go, you know what, there's water damage over in there and it's dripping. So that dripping sound, or that sound you're hearing, we're in that room. So maybe we shouldn't have cameras focused in that room because, or equipment in that room because that's going to affect what we're getting. Because it's not a sound that can be explained. Sorry, it is a sound that can be explained.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Is
there, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead. It's fine.
I was just going to ask if there was a website or anything that people can contact you at, or is there a way for them to, if they want a reading or more information?
I personally don't have one. I'm sure if they reached out to Lynda or whatever, Lynda can pass them on to me. And I don't have one specifically set up for me. Like most of my clients are by word of mouth. So, and they're usually fairly local. So I've never really done. But as for my own paranormal investigations, like Lynn said, I'm more of I do more consulting. So I get called in with other groups. So if they wanted me, they could contact Georgina Paranormal Society, for instance. And Lynda knows how to get a hold of me if they're needing me. And that's
if people need a witch, I know a really good one. Honestly, Robyn, I just wanted to say quickly, I really liked what you said about having a mentor, because if there are parents out there who have kids who are interested in witchcraft, often they just don't know where to go. They don't know what resources are out there, and they don't know who to reach out to. So if there are people out there and they want some information, etc., I would be happy to connect them with you and, take it from there. Because I think it's a good idea to always have a mentor, and a good mentor.
And just make sure that you have an open mind. You may not agree with what your kids are into, and you may not understand it. Doesn't make it wrong. No, it just means it's different than what you're used to. They could be involved in any religion, and they happen to choose this as a path they want to follow. for whatever their reasonings are behind it. Maybe they have a connection, and don't discourage, just inquire, ask questions.
Yeah.
Be positive. You showing positivity towards something that they enjoy is going to only bring positive out in them and in the way they look at things. And
Yeah.
that's the way you want to drive them. If you're a parent, you want to push them in a positive direction. So I think ultimately it's, like I said, witchcraft is very personal to the person. It develops and blooms from within and out. And if they take on like other aspects of their own religious beliefs, like if they follow Norse paganism or British, British backgrounds and their Celtic religions and stuff,
Right.
that's personal to them too. Definitely would research, know what they're getting into, and literally ask questions. I mean, a library is a good place to start too. If you can't, as much as I hate Dr. Google, you can Google stuff. You will get a lot of garbage, but you can also find some great people on there and who can answer questions as well.
Yeah. And again, just trust your gut, use your intuition,
Definitely trust your gut.
Yeah.
I mean,
sometimes I like to ask, show me the information that I need to know, asking your own energy, asking your own higher self, or, for me, it'd be my guides or my angels, whatever it is, it's like, show me the information that I need to know. And a lot of times you will be led to it. So,
yeah. And look for signs around you. Like, I
yeah.
mean, there could be the subtlest little things. Like you open a book one day and you're asking about a guide or whatever, and a picture falls out of like a relative that you've stuck in the book. There's a good chance that that person has purposely made that fall out of that book.
Yeah.
And look, it's my uncle, and he's been dead for like 20 years. Wow. Could that be one of my guides? Good chance it could be one of your guides, and they're just now giving you this. You asked for like some validation, and here it is.
Absolutely.
And be open to it. Be open to the idea that little things around you happen for a reason, and they're not always just because like they are there because stuff around you does go bump in the night. Like
100%. I just want to thank you so much for coming on to the show. Thank you for being here with us. We hope to be able to have you on again.
Sure. Yeah,
If you're up for that.
I definitely would be more than willing to come on again and chat. I had a great time.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you again. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Take care. Thank you again, Robyn, so very much.
Oh,
and welcome. Have a wonderful night, guys.
Bye.